Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item C on the agenda is approval of minutes from July 6, 2021, regular council meeting minutes. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the minutes shall stand approved. All right, they stand approved. Item D is citizen communication. If there's anyone in the audience or on WebEx that would like to address council, anything other than what is already on the agenda, please feel free to type a message in the chat and we will check those throughout the meeting. Okay, item E, reports from council committees. E1, electric committee met on July 12th. Lori?
Thank you, Council President. We accepted the BOPA's recommendation to approve the July 2021 Public Power Supply Cost Adjustment Factor and recommend council approve the asset purchase and sale agreement with AMP-T and recommend council approve the operations and maintenance service agreement with AMP-T.
Thank you. And item E2 is water, sewer, refuse, and recycling and litter committee met on July 12th as well.
Thank you. First item was received updates on the wastewater treatment plant improvements. Second item was discuss the water rate review committee as required in the contract with the Village of Florida. And third, discuss a potential operation and maintenance agreement with the Village of Florida for their water systems.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Item 3, the Municipal Properties Building, Land Use, and Economic Development Committee did not meet on July 12th due to lack of agenda items, nor did the Parks and Rec Committee meet tonight due to lack of agenda items. Moving on to item G, introduction of new ordinances and resolutions. We have G1, resolution number 025-21. A resolution authorizing and directing the finance director of the city of Napoleon to certify and file annual special assessments of the city of Napoleon, Ohio, with the county auditor of Henry County for the placement and collection of the 2021 tax duplicates payable in the year 2022 and declaring an emergency. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Joel, would you like to take this today?
Yes. Yeah, please. Let me make sure I'm on the right one here.
Yep, that's it.
So this is required annually. Allows the finance director to certify and file for special assessments on certain projects that remain out there. So the special assessments would include like the North Point neighborhood or industrial park improvements that happened some time ago, and then those specifically were deferred assessments that get paid back when the properties sell or are developed outside of what the agricultural use is. So, yeah, it's filed with the Henry County Auditor's Office and due by October 1st, so requesting first read.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly? Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item G2, resolution number 026-21. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor of Henry County for the 2021 tax duplicates payable in the year 2022 and declaring an emergency. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Hey, Joel?
Thank you. Again, also required annually. These two usually run together. Pardon me. And this adopts the tax budget for levy purposes with the Henry County Auditor's Office. And you can see the listing on there includes the pool levy, or I'm sorry, well, yeah, the pool levy. It's a park and rec levy.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item G3, resolution number 027-21, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to apply for and accept Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program and Local Transportation Improvement Program funds for the project deemed necessary by the city engineer in the year 2022 and declaring an emergency. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Joel?
Thank you. This is also required annually if we want to apply for the LTIP funding through ODOT. Usually the projects that score the best are the sewer projects. We're looking at Meekison as a project for this program because it is needed. It ties into another sewer project on 3rd Street that's also needed, so Meekison has to come first. It'll score really well, but Chad's putting together some cost estimates for it. We don't have those yet, but just requesting first read on this one.
All right, thank
Do we
you.
get any LTIP in 2021?
We got Skip. There's two pieces
Oh,
to
yep.
it. There's LTIP and Skip. We received $275,000 or 70% for the Front Street project, which I'm going to request to advertise tonight.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Moving on to item H, second reads of ordinances and resolutions. We have ordinance number 020-21, an ordinance approving current June 2021 replacement pages to the City of Napoleon codified ordinances. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Okay. Joel?
Nothing new to report on this.
All right. Any new questions or comments? Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
All right, moving on to item I, third readings of ordinances and resolutions. We have none. Moving on to item J, good of the city. J1, discussion or action, approval of power supply cost adjustment factor for July 2021 as PSCA 3-month average factor 0.01490 and JV2 0.028681. Okay, Joel?
Thank you. As you can see, the past 4 months have been very consistent. Overall, everything has been down over the past 2 years. I don't use it last year as the example because that was the COVID year where we had a large spike. But overall, usage is steady, might be a little bit down, but overall, the cost adjustment factor has been low.
All right, any questions or comments?
Joel, what month last year did we move that 100,000?
That would be June and July.
Okay.
The June was done in, right here for April usage. July was a credit to everybody's bill, so the June one was a credit to the power supply cost adjustment factor.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we'll need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Moving on to item J2, discussion or action, asset purchase and sale agreement with AMT. And we just need to direct the law director to draft legislation. Did you want to say anything else on that today, Joel? or-
Just one quick follow-up item was the section 7.8 was just actually it was referenced to 2018 maintenance manual. That was just a filler, so that's being corrected. But what that section is to do, there will be an interim period between, closing and taking things over. So they just want to make sure, and we all want to make sure that the facilities are continued to be maintained during the time between approval of the agreement and closing, and then getting the facility up and operating under AMT. So it was just to make sure that it's still, still being maintained, so we don't just, let it go and say it's all yours and move on. A little bit of protection language for everybody, really.
Okay. Has that already been updated?
No, it is not. So, that and, there were some highlights that we had discussed, so those have been fixed as well, so.
Those will be in the packet for?
It'll be in the packet, yes.
The next meeting?
Yep,
Okay.
it'll be in the packet.
All right. I think this is a good one for all of us to read probably every page, every paragraph. It's a big deal, big decision to make. All right. We just need a motion to direct the law director to draft legislation.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
All right. And item J3, discussion or action, operations and maintenance, service agreement with AMT. And same thing, directing the law director to draft legislation.
Actually, this one have the law director draft legislation in error. It only requires a motion since it's an amendment to the agreement existing, so. But it does add the items that are in the new asset transfer agreement, so. It only requires a motion, not legislation.
If you want us to see that.
No. This is, what I'm getting at is, all it is adding the, this was part of the net book valuation that was in the, electric committee, documents, but it's it adds it's the equipment in the substations and the 69 kV line that runs behind it, or runs in between it. So,
So it's the appurtenances.
yes. It's all of it.
Thanks.
Just when you look at it, yeah, I can't even read it from here, but it's that level of detail that it gives every little segment. So, if you want to table it and wait, or, you can handle it however you want.
Do you have any other concerns with that?
I don't know.
Okay.
No.
I don't see a reason to table it now.
I don't either.
So we just need a motion to amend the current legislation?
Amend the current agreement to include the additional assets that are a part of the asset transfer agreement.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Rox, did you get all that?
Did Lori second?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
All right. Item J4, discussion and action, PC 21-09, conditional use permit, 2601 Scott Street. Jason?
There is a long history of a fruit stand being ran in the parking lot between the auto parts and what was used to be Fastenal, basically across from George's Furniture. That stand is now at 2601 Scott Street, which is across the street from the Knights Inn. And if you're driving south, you can see there. Excuse me, if you're driving north, apologize, if you're driving north on Scott Street underneath the overpass, you can see their tent there. We agreed to this passed unanimously, that to allow this conditional use at this location.
It's been there for a while, is there a reason?
It's been,
It's been at that location for a while before this came through.
right, we talked to them about that this was a little later than we anticipated. The owner thought they didn't have to do it since it was already allowable in that zone. But the question was, how do they know what zone they're in until they come to us? So they were a little tardy with that, but yeah. Yep.
So do you need a motion to accept?
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes?
All right. It's been approved. Item J5, discussion or action on recommendation of NIEDF committee to approve a $5,000 reimbursement grant with stipulations for facade improvements to Property Preppers LLC. Joel?
Thank you. The NIEDF committee met last week and recommended to council and the CIC board to approve of a grant from the NIEDF fund for the, formerly what's the Brick and Brew. Actually, they're gonna keep the name Brick and Brew for their business. So, under the condition that they complete the work in the timeline that's listed, which is October. So they gotta finish by October 30th. Yeah, there's room for extensions and if needed, there's some unforeseen circumstances, and they have to open. So no money gets reimbursed until those things happen. So, you know, it's a critical location, and in an effort to keep momentum going on that redevelopment and get that business open, the NIEDF committee recommended awarding this to to Property Preppers, which is the company that owns the property.
All right.
If council approves tonight, it then goes to the CIC board, and that would be on their agenda for tomorrow.
Where does this grant money come from?
The NIEDF fund.
Do you know how, like, who funds that or where that?
That's from the
What is-
CRA agreement, so the payment in lieu of taxes,
Okay.
there's a line item in there for NIEDF fund, so it just gets replenished as there are CRA agreements.
Okay.
There's about $38,000 left in that fund right now. It's actually held and housed by the CIC. So they'll actually do the disbursements.
Is there any specifications on what kind of facade improvements they're making?
The facade improvements that were brought before the Preservation Commission already. So what they plan to do is take out that bay window completely and the base, pour concrete where the old base is, and then and then dress up that wall, and then have the awnings there for like bistro tables on the sidewalks just outside the building. On that side, on the Washington Street side.
Washington Street, side, okay, thank you.
Just need a motion to make the recommendation.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross.
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori.
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, item J6, discussion or action, consulting service agreement with Schoenhart and Associates. Joel?
Thank you. So we have a contract with Schoenhart and Associates now. They do our CAFR, among other few items. This would be for additional work, and that, by the way, the CAFR work is about $40,000. This would be for additional work to help us provide oversight for managing the finance department in the interim period until a new finance director is hired. So it is over the threshold of $25,000. So actually, Tammy, if you wanted to jump in here and.
Absolutely. So Schoenhart was listed on the recurring cost legislation that we wrote for this year, but it was very specific that it was only for the CAFR preparation. So it would be in our best interest to write this, another separate piece of legislation to allow them to do our consulting as well.
Great. Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that. Have any questions, concerns on this?
So with that, in order to get them started, Tammy was gracious enough to draft legislation for this already. So it's ready to go if you want to add it to the agenda and pass it now, so we can get them on board and started before, or else we have to wait 2 weeks. So, thank you. So, I don't know if that would be a consideration or not, but. Came up fast.
Right.
You know, here's the, you know, what they asked.
Legislation walked on the agenda like this. Was it-
So this would allow for us to use them up to 80 hours until what date, Joel?
Until a new interim finance director, or a new permanent finance director is hired.
Okay. If we don't use all 80 hours before that,
It's a not to exceed.
pay for the hour.
Yeah, it's a time and materials
Okay.
type of contract.
In your best estimate, I know Kelly did a lot in preparation for her departure. How much do you think we would have to use them in the next 2 weeks?
You know, I don't have a good answer to that, but I know I'm planning on meeting with them
Okay.
on Monday next week.
And would that meeting be considered part of this 80 hours?
Well, yeah, it would, but, I mean, we can always postpone it and get by.
I think this is needed. It would have been nice, obviously, it'd always be nice to have more notice than what's required when someone leaves, but understand circumstances, and she had a position to start somewhere else, so, I mean, there was only so much time she could give us, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done immediately. And I know Joel and I have had some conversations, and in my opinion, I think it's a good idea to get, just to make sure we have everything taken care of that the city is required to do, starting immediately.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead with the agreement.
So you would be making a motion to add it
Yes,
to the agenda?
yes.
Would
I
be the-
second that.
Would be the first one, okay.
Yeah, I really dislike legislation getting walked on night of. That's a real pet peeve. It really is. I think we need Schoenhardt and Associates. It's just, I really loathe when stuff gets walked on like this. It's like we're skipping steps. And I understand the reason, I get it, right?
Mhm.
I think it's a special circumstance.
And
Yeah,
this-
it's
this is
never
just a-
anybody's desire to do that either, so, I mean,
Right.
Yeah, this is just
realistically,
the first
nobody
reading,
wants to
right?
walk it on.
We gotta
but-
pass it with emergency. You get to do it with suspension with emergency.
Right.
So they can meet on Monday.
Well,
Yep.
yeah.
It's not a first read.
Well, it could be a first read, it's gonna be a first read until someone would make a motion to do suspension and,
Well, it's written as with emergency.
do you have another solution that could protect the city to make sure everything that's required by the,
Yeah, we bring it back in 2 weeks and pass it under suspension with emergency.
how does that cover the next 2 weeks though?
It wouldn't.
That's what I mean, do you have a solution to cover between now and 2 weeks from now? That we can do instead of this? I'm open for that.
If we didn't have this, what would we do for the next 2 weeks?
That's the question I'm
Right.
asking you.
Well, no,
Right,
no,
yeah.
but no, it's that question, right?
Right, yep,
It's what would we do if we didn't have this for 2 weeks? So everything would continue on as normal.
well, normal was having a finance director.
I think a lot
We
would
don't,
follow
it's
Joel.
not
Well, it's like
continuing
a
normal.
finance director would be on vacation for 2 weeks. So we're gonna ask him to do a lot on Tuesday, the 3rd of August, because we passed it on the 2nd of August. To catch up.
You'd be ending up having some special council meetings.
Do we know what needs to be done? I mean, she said she was leaving everything pretty much up to date and ready to go for the next person to step in. We're not able to think of anybody else to fill that role, so I think this is a great alternative.
Mhm.
But like the mayor said, you know, I don't know. If there's stuff that's coming up in the next 2 weeks that needs to be addressed, then we don't really have a choice.
Right.
So, Council President, if I may,
Mhm.
I mean, this is a fail-safe for council and for the city. And, you know, like I said, nobody wants to walk anything on ever. But in this situation, it's up to council on how you want to handle it.
Right,
It's really, they're short-staffed greatly in the finance department. I think that everybody's aware of that. And yes, there is a list of items, but I'll tell you that I was going to reach out to Schoenhardt myself. Surprisingly, they reached out to me first. Said, hey, we do things like that. And I said, yeah, that's great. I was gonna call you and see if you could help us out in the interim period here. And, you know, it worked out. They were able to turn this around pretty quick. I think it's a good idea, or else I wouldn't have brought it up. I think it's added protection for the city. So it's a third-party consulting oversight for a critical function.
I know, in addition to everything that you're saying and how important it is, and we've had substantial savings in that department within the last year, 2 years. Doesn't mean, hey, let's just blow a bunch of money, but to protect the city, I think it's important. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Kent,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
So that brought the piece of legislation to the agenda.
It's on the agenda.
We don't need to do that right now, right?
Well,
I mean, immediately?
You might as well. You're going to
Right in
have to
front
if
of
he's got the meeting Monday.
Well, no, I know today. I was
right,
just saying.
Since you added it to the agenda, it's
Mhm.
on the agenda, and you can act on it right now.
So we'll read it by title like we would any other piece of legislation and then move forward that way.
Right. I just want to make sure everyone has the ability to read all of it prior to asking all of us to vote on it. So
So
I guess with that,
You could then, move the agenda then. If it's added to the agenda, then
You take a 5-minute recess, then we're
That's,
here.
I
you
think
can
that's
do
a good idea.
or you could just, you
Yeah.
could add it as number 12.
And copies for each of us.
on the- on-
Nice too.
And move the agenda then to the next item, which would be the review of the city's website, and then circle back to it at the end.
okay. I like that other idea, since we were just talking about it, let's just do a recess. If we can get a copy made for all of us, give us a few minutes to read it all.
Yep.
And then come back and vote on it then.
Yep.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. So we'll resume the meeting here. I'll read the resolution, resolution number 028-21, a resolution authorizing the expenditure of funds and an agreement for financial consultant professional services with Schoenhart and Associates and declaring an emergency. I have a motion?
So moved.
Well, second.
Okay. I guess I would like to at least discuss how much we're talking here, because I know, I believe what Tammy was saying is we already have an agreement with Schoenhart and Associates already, but what we're adding to could exceed the limit of 25,000 combined with the other agreement, correct?
Oh.
Not what we're talking about.
We're already over 25,000.
Okay, so, can we, I'd like to talk about putting a cap on what we're going to, the additional. Cause reading this, just say, hey, we'll let you go over 25,000, but
Didn't it say not to exceed 8,800?
80 hours,
80 hours,
110.
okay.
Is
yeah,
that for the
Yeah.
entire time without a finance director?
Yes.
So I don't understand why would.
Because we're in a contract with Schoenhart and Associates, that's why it's more than 25. It's not separate, this is in addition to. So 80 hours, if we're lightning fast over 7 weeks? But more realistic, like 2.5 months? Is that enough time?
It's a little light on the hours, but they kept it at 80, so they're pretty confident that they'll be able to do what they need to do, help us out for that many hours.
And we can always, you can always bring it back, somebody can bring it back if it's looking like it's not gonna be enough, and presenting what needs to be done and why it can't be done with our department.
Yeah, that's true. And it could be brought back, we could talk about it once every 2 weeks, a full
Right.
council meeting. Just kind of have it on there as, finance department update. That'll be one of the items is how much are we using Schoenhart and where are we at on
Right.
8,800 in expenses.
Just, added to that, if you could, specify what duties they're doing, that, so we could just make sure that it's not something that we could have done in-house.
Yep.
Section 2 of the legislation talks about a contract. Do we have a copy of that contract here tonight?
I mean, this is it. This is the proposal.
This is it.
Yep. $8,800, time and materials, 80 hours, not to exceed.
Bless you. Bless you.
So if we wanted to have this start immediately, or as soon as possible, we would need suspension and then a vote.
Correct.
I do just want to reiterate one point that you made, Joel. You said it's like safety net, basically, for the city, right? And with it being a third party, I appreciate that. I think having, someone for that checks and balances piece while we don't have a finance director is critically important. And then with someone like Schoenhardt, having worked with Napoleon for 25 plus years, knowing the city, I think that's a huge plus too. So just want to reiterate that.
Yeah. Right. I'll make
The,
the, oh, go ahead.
Where was I gonna go with this? No, I agree with what Ross is saying, it is, the Schoenhardt is the right people. I'm not disagreeing with that. But I think we're gonna burn through those 80 hours pretty quick. Who's the point of contact for Schoenhardt and Associates inside the city?
City manager.
Well, we haven't determined who is
Okay.
going to be the interim finance director, which we will be doing tonight. It'll be that person. So I'll make a motion for suspension.
I'll second it.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll on suspension.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, there are no other questions or comments. Okay, Rox, please call the roll on the resolution.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, that has passed on first read under suspension.
With emergency.
That's what it says in there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item, J7,
Do you want to take the helm?
discussion or action, review of the city's website. All right. Hello, gentlemen, how we doing tonight? Awesome.
First, I would like to say this has been quite an adventure for Justin and I. Neither of us have had a lot of real experience with websites in the past, so it's been a tall learning curve for both of us. We've done a lot of trial and error, and what you see is what we've come up with. So on the homepage, we've added several images capturing the city as best as we can. We're going to be adding more based on the time of year and removing it. So that's to come. We've also tried to put the majority of the things the citizens would need for the city to quickly access things such as paying their bills or trying to file for a offense. We've been adding a lot of content to our press and schedules. This usually comes from operations, and we're trying to make it look as nice as we can, but there's a lot of content to put in here. And we recently added these 4 buttons here, which you can see are quick links. And speaking of quick links, we've been taking a tally of the things that have been clicked on the most for the city, and we found that these are the things that have the highest hits. So we put the links in there, and we can add more as time goes on, but right now these are the ones that are getting the most hits. So zoning, refuse, and recycling, and employment opportunities. So we've added those in there. As for news, these are added automatically as we do things such as public service announcements or things that are going on in the city. As soon as we update them, they automatically populate in this area. So we really don't have to do a lot of work here. So if Joel wants us to post something, we can post it, and it'll pop up right here, which makes it really convenient for us and everyone else in the city.
So there's just no emergency, it shows up right here.
Yeah, anything we put, any news items, and if they want to see all the rest of them, they can click more as well. And it goes to the page with all the news events. So it makes it really easy. As for events, we currently just do the council meetings and committee meetings here. We are eventually looking at adding more as Joel guides us, so. And
Yeah, all inputs.
if you have any recommendations
Yeah.
too, we have a whole calendar we can fill with stuff, and it will populate right there, so. We're open ears, so. Yep, yes, you want to go?
I'd just like to make a note that, the old website, if any of you had the pleasure to look at it, was atrocious. So this has been quite a, improvement for us.
You good? Yeah.
So we've done some renovations with being able to access different locations of the website in different areas. I think a good one to show would be like the water department, water treatment. You can go here. There's a link here. You can access all these up on top and a few other spots. It's just something to show.
More redundant is what we're
Yeah.
trying to do. That way people don't have to try and sift through all the data. We figure with this, we don't have to worry about people calling as often. Stephanie already has as many calls as she can take as it is, so if we can convey the information here, they don't have to try. And
So if a user were to come on and wanted to look at water problems, they can come up. There's quite a few good questions that Jeff Lee's put up here, or that we put on, but he wrote this all up, so it's very nice. I'd like to kind of go over the city council and the mayor page. We have all of your information, or at least the bios that were in the old website. And if there's any information you guys would like added or edited, just let us know. It's just kind of here for you guys to.
Picture of you
Oh, sorry, my
at the
bad.
back of my
I
head.
have lots of those.
What's that?
Yeah.
So
There you go, there you go.
we kind of have a biography
Sorry,
of.
Lord.
Sorry, that's not it.
I think it looks good.
Sure you are.
So you guys can kind of go through it sometime and look at it. It's NapoleonOhio.com. What other ones do I mention here?
We also try to minimize the amount of length pages have, because people get kind of tired of scrolling down. So
Mhm.
by adding these radio buttons here and all your bios, it makes it a lot easier to go through. We're also planning on adding more photos as well once we find more of you guys around the city. So
Yeah,
that's okay
yeah.
with you guys.
And the trick was finding groupings of council members without having old council members in the pictures too, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So again, if there's anything you guys want added, just let us know.
Are we getting compensated for our name, image, and likeness?
Yeah. We'll discuss, negotiate that.
There's some other, up in the news and events tab, we have some that are major, maybe more public access areas, like our yard department. Dustin did put a lot of work for this photo and some other stuff here. There's a nice map here that was not
It's
easy.
the amount of time one little photo takes you.
Wow.
So there's just some information here. It's, whenever you can, I encourage you to just kind of go through it. And of course, it's not perfect.
Who's our
It's-
business?
I think it's gonna take a while until it's all.
And I play with it every day a little bit and just add stuff and remove stuff. And I've been in contact with Tangent, the company that we have hosting it, and I have a few things I want them to adjust, like the columns. I want to be wider for the pages so we have less of the white on the sides. That's fine. And I also want to be able to add, the buttons, I want to change the colors of those. Just small things that I've been adding, and I really like. At first, I will say I wasn't too happy about adding and subtracting content constantly, but now that I've gotten used to it, it's actually kind of fun for me to do, and I enjoy it. So.
This website is much more, it's much more convenient for us to maintain for like adding files and stuff. That's just on the back end of what users don't see. It's just a little bit easier for anybody in the city to edit as well. So, are there any questions regarding that?
I just have a comment. The other day, I was looking for something. I kind of forgot that you guys were doing this. And when I got on there, I was impressed how easy it was for me to find what I was looking for. And then I kept clicking on things, and all the information that's on there is just, it's amazing where it was, months ago to where it is now.
And that's another thing. We also had a lot of feedback from citizens, especially since from the Parks and Rec department and the Finance department with ideas and stuff. And we've implemented those, and we have it done. Under city services, I did believe. Just
Yeah, we spent a lot of time on the Parks and Rec.
And Parks and Rec. Yeah, you want to go Parks and Rec? Yeah, this has been a bit of a cool one. So we've added, this page was kind of bland, so we added some more pictures and content, just to go over the brief golf course, parks, aquatic center, dog park, pretty pictures. And then we added this page, which is,
It's kind of a quick one to go over. Some just quick
Rates.
information for people. Some photos on here that we'd like to add some more in the future throughout the page, throughout the whole website. I think there's some areas that we could improve with photos and stuff,
that's why we have a nice new camera, so,
which has worked well. So
as you can see.
Yeah, it's a nice showcase of the city.
Golf club.
I like the logos too.
Yeah.
Looks nice, doesn't it?
Does it link to the county site, to a state site, to the CIC?
I think
I think
it is,
so.
yes. I think it's on the front page.
Thank you.
And that's on the Owner Economic Development tab at the top too.
Open new tabs. What's that? Sorry.
Which one? Which one?
Master plan, chamber,
CIC.
Yeah, you
CIC,
click on it.
zoning.
I can't really see that.
That's why, I don't know, sorry.
We could add a Jobs Ohio one. That's a good idea. Adding Jobs Ohio and
Just the Henry County, just other stuff that we're
Yeah, they work.
associated with.
there you
Oh,
go.
they're, oh.
Oh, dude. Don't, there you go.
So there's those ones were, yeah, we just haven't, we made those a while ago.
Yeah, Henry has.
Yeah, that's what I want to make sure that we're
Yeah,
part of the Henry Has piece, yeah.
yeah. And we can add more. It's not that hard. It's just technically so. So where you see a few buttons, I see hours.
We're laughing with you, not at you.
That was good.
Do you have access to pull up the old site just for a side-by-side comparison?
I do, but it's a weird,
We don't have the link.
Okay,
We can
no
show it
worries.
to you guys.
I do have, they have it up for me to pull information off in case I missed anything during the transfer, but yeah, I didn't think about that. That would be a fun thing to look at. It's bad.
I think just in our discussions, it was, if you are outside of Napoleon looking to move to Napoleon, where's the first place you go look? It's, the website, maybe a Facebook page, something like that. So we wanted it to be obviously visually appealing. And the amount of time that you guys put into it was incredible, so thank you for all that. How long were you working on the site altogether?
I can't call you. It's been about a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half of pretty.
And you gotta remember, there was also a point where we didn't know what to do, so we were simply learning and calling and asking questions and stuff. But it's only within the last, I would say, 6 months, we've actually able to actually do it without calling anybody. We can just do it, get
Yeah.
on, edit, add. But I'm not as good as their developers, but we're getting there.
It's Napoleon's front door on the online, right?
Yeah.
It's your front doorstep, right? You better make sure it looks nice.
That's exactly how we viewed it, that the initial process of this. Our opinions were, anybody who saw the website, that was their initial opinion of the city.
Yeah.
And you go on there and you feel like you're in 2002, it's not great.
I like that you use the data from how it's currently used
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
To just make it simpler for citizens, that's really good. Do you have capability to, if you make one update, that it updates throughout?
So that is one of the benefits of the way I've set up the site. So typically before, it was just links and you had to update 6 or 7. Now, with the new site, it's called stacks. And when I update one thing, it updates it every location on the
Good.
entire website, which saves a lot of time. And it makes it so we don't have random outdated content just sitting on the website. That is really nice.
Mhm.
That's something I requested long before we ever started this, because when I would do the old website, it would take an hour to update every link, because I had to sit through
And then we would
100
miss
pages.
ones. We'd miss them because we didn't know where all of
Sure.
these were, so
Right.
I would know if we change one link, it changes wherever it's at, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's about it.
Looks
Huge
great.
improvement. Thank you.
Yep,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item J8, discussion or action, award of the 2021 miscellaneous streets improvement project.
Chad, you want to take this?
Sure. Last week, we opened bids for the 2021 miscellaneous street improvements project. We received 3 bids. The engineer's estimate was $493,750. Bryan Excavating submitted the lowest bid at $443,636. The project consists of replacing the curbing and widening North Sheffield, and then replacing the curbing and repaving Michigan. Michigan's not being widened, but North Sheffield is. Portions of the driveways will be replaced to accommodate the replacement of that curb. Having reviewed the bids, their bid was lower than expected. There's a few things we need to do when that happens. If the low bid is more than 10% below the average of all higher bids, we have to meet with the bidder to verify they didn't miss anything in their bid, and then we have to contact their surety. We did both of those. I'm confident that it is a good and responsive bid, and having reviewed them, it is my recommendation to award the contract to Bryan Excavating for $443,636.
We've been using Brian for other things, right?
Yes, I've worked with them off and on since '93. They do good work. They were previously Lingby Excavating. They reorganized a few years ago and changed their name to Bryan Excavating, but it's the same people.
Thank you, Chad, appreciate that.
Why are we widening North Sheffield?
It's only 19 feet wide. We're widening it to 25, which is our minimum.
Okay.
Best thing we could be doing.
I'm not disagreeing with it, I'm just asking a
Yeah.
question.
You can't get a big snowplow down there with
Yeah.
vehicles parked.
And
You
there
have to use a
is
small truck.
parking permitted on both of those streets. So when there is a car parked, even on a trash day, it's difficult for the garbage trucks. Michigan is 25 feet wide now, and that's why we're not going to widen that. One thing we are doing to give us a little extra room, we're going with a different type of curb instead of the standard curb and gutter that we generally put in. We are widening it, we're going to put in a type 6 curb, which is just the stand-up vertical curb. So we have that extra 2 feet of asphalt pavement. So even though it's only 25 feet wide, people are more willing to drive closer to a curb when it's just a curb than they are when it's a curb and gutter, because they feel that great break with their tire. So we elected to go with type 6 curb on these 2 streets.
I know my former neighbors on Michigan Avenue are grateful.
Good.
I've heard a lot about that in my 20 years in Napoleon, so.
So that's gonna get rid of all the weeds that are between, in the street between the curbs and,
For this year, yes.
for this year.
Hopefully for many to
I would
come.
hope. All right,
Chad, loaded question, did you use that street survey to help pick out these roads?
We look at the survey. There are a large number of streets that currently have a score of 0.
Yep.
Both of these have a 0. What we generally do is we look at what the scores are. We try to rotate neighborhoods the best we can. Last year we were on the south side and Graceway. We've talked about the Ohio Street area for several years now.
Yeah.
There are 4 more streets in this neighborhood that need paved. Chances are we won't go back to that neighborhood next year. We'll pick another neighborhood. But we do review the matrix. That was put together 7 or 8 years ago. And what we do is we put together a formula, and then at the end of each year, if we pave a street, it gets regraded to 100. Or if we rebuild it, it goes to 100. If we just repave it, it goes to 95. And then the ones that have no improvements done, they drop down so many points each year. So some of those streets that might have been, say, 30 when we did the rating,
Aren't
probably
30
now
anymore.
have deteriorated to a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an extensive list.
It says completion date by October 30th. What would you think when it would start?
If you award this to sorry, I don't want to say Lingby. If you award this to Bryan Excavating, it's my understanding they would like to start as soon as possible. I do know some of these construction companies are running low on work. I was given the impression the faster we can sign these contracts, they'll be here. And they have their own paving equipment, so it's not just come in, do the little bit of storm sewer work, get the curb in, and then wait for a sub. They are their own paving company as well.
Is that what's going on Lynn Avenue right now?
Lynn Avenue, the water services started going in on Friday and continued today. When I talked to Aaron at 3 o'clock, I believe they were going to have one more to do tomorrow.
Okay.
They'll need to make the tie-in, then once they get that done, as of tomorrow, everyone should be on the new water line.
Okay.
Then they'll have to start taking the curbs out and then get those replaced, get the storm crossovers replaced. And then they'll be looking to get the asphalt put in. That's supposed to be completed by August 15th.
That'd be great.
That's the completion date.
Understand.
Chad, on Michigan, and I'm sure this happens with every project, I noticed that the utilities were marked back when there was snow on the ground. And there's the little flags that are in people's yards.
Sure.
Do they need to keep those flags in? And that's what I kind of thought, and I felt bad because I see some people and they're trying to mow around all their flags and other ones are gone.
When we have that done in-house, when we're designing it with our own staff, my staff is instructed when they get done surveying, they pull them. I wasn't aware there were still flags out there. Those can be pulled, and if people call me, I tell them that. When the contractor starts the project, he's required by law to have his own markings done. He cannot work off somebody else's ticket. The Ohio Utility Protection Act or something like that. So what's out there is obsolete.
Can we, in the future, have them pull them when they're finished?
Yeah, we can
Or
put that in
even
the contract.
just notify the residents that they can remove them after a certain date?
Sure. Yep.
All right, thank you.
I'll make a motion to award this bid.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
All right. Item J9, discussion or action, approval of plans and specifications for the Front Street Interceptor and Palmer Ditch Force Main Relocation Project.
Jay,
As mentioned earlier, this is our 2021 calendar year project that has OPWC money attached. This project is crucial to the work going on at the wastewater treatment plant. The Palmer Ditch force main that comes from the south side of the river into the wastewater plant well as the sewer that runs down in front of our building, down Front Street to the plant. Neither one of those sources go to where the other sewage comes into the plant. They go to their own location. When we do the improvements to the plant, they cannot be where they are. They have to be rerouted to the new headworks facility. The new headworks right now is the concrete structure that houses the screw pumps. When we built that structure, we put a stub in there to take this flow when the time came. Well, this is the time we need to reroute those around outside of the dike, through the park and through some private properties which we've acquired easements for, and then go through the driveway into the plant, into the screw pumps. Most of the project consists of 30-inch sanitary sewer. With the amount of flow we have, there is a storm sewer pump station inside the plant. That has to be rerouted as well. We're reusing a portion of the existing force main, and that will be rerouted for the headworks. But the estimate for the project is $360,000. We were able to get a grant for 70% of the project cost, or $275,000, whichever is less. Our estimate last year was about $400,000. That's why we were able to get the 275. But just requesting approval of the plans and specs so we can advertise this project this week and get it started. The completion date for this project was set to May 14th, and that was coordinated with Kirk Brothers, who is the contractor doing the work inside the plant.
Great, thank you. Any questions, or concerns on this one for Chad? All right. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, that's been approved. Item J10, discussion or action, acceptance of a $1,000 donation / reimbursement for the four-county Adams Board for the K-9 program.
Just how it reads.
That's it?
Yeah. Adams Board has been very supportive of the police department, so not just with the DARE program, and also with items like this.
K-9. All right, great.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Right now, I'd like to just change the agenda a little bit and go to executive session before we move on to item 11. So in motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel, and Tammy, you have an idea of like what I need to add onto that one?
That's employment, that one.
For the
Well, it's not-
employment, appointment, or something else
Yeah.
of personnel.
Appointment. Thank you. Thank you, Tammy.
Good job, Tam.
So moved.
Second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Um, Have any questions, comments, concerns?
I think we all trust Joel to do both roles. We trust the finance department to pull together. We trust the department heads to do a little more than what they normally do until we get a new finance director and get the system back the way it should be. In the meantime, we all have full faith that Joel's gonna knock this out of the park.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
All right, we'll go around the table here and start with Ross today.
Nothing for me, sir. Thank you.
Ken?
Is there a chance that the spray patch thing can be used on Wayne Park Drive? That is really getting torn up.
We do have it on our list. We're currently a little short-handed. When we can get the guys out, it's near the top.
And I like the stand-up curbs. That's all I have.
Okay. Dan?
I have a question, Mr. City Manager. The dog park. We do not use it that often because we have our own situation. But we were down there last week and we noticed that the locks and stuff there are not working. Anybody can just walk right in.
That's correct.
And I'm not sure how often that's used because anytime I've been down there, there's been no other dogs there.
The lock broke, and when we got the quote, the replacement of the lock and the life of the lock, for what we get in dog park memberships, the cost of the lock exceeded the useful life of the lock from going off of historical data. And I opted to just keep them unlocked and make it a free dog park, because it doesn't get used that much.
That's my other point. I mean, I don't know if there's anything we can do to increase the use of that facility.
I'll have to check with Tony, but I
we just
want to
did.
say we took
did.
that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we just did.
We just did.
No, the park,
Well,
No, and
I want to say we
No.
brought it up to the Parks and Rec board, but I have to go back and check. I don't recall, like, if it was a discussion item there or not, so
Anytime that I've been there, there was no.
there's no talk about that specific item. So, yeah, let me circle back with Tony, but right now, that's the issue, is replacing the lock exceeds what we bring in and
and that's
membership
why I
revenues.
felt it wasn't being used that much. One of
Yeah.
the reasons, because I
People
never
don't
see
pay for
anybody
it.
else down
Yeah.
there.
I have never seen anybody in there, and I drive around the city every morning. I have never seen anyone in there.
True, I haven't either.
And like there
Many
used to
times
be
it's
like flower pots in there, well, there's no flower pots in there. I mean, the pots are there, but there's no flowers in it or anything, so.
Yeah.
It definitely gave me the impression it wasn't being
There's
used.
pots in there at night.
I will move on. Is,
Oh, my, that.
Mr. President, is there anything on the agenda for safety and human resources for next week?
not that I know of. Chief, anything?
I don't have anything.
Yeah, we do have one item,
Okay,
so it's a
so
human
we will have
resources
safety
item.
and human resources.
We talked about it briefly, but I just wanted to make sure to bring it to the committee. It has to do with the, coming out of COVID, doing some, team building and training for supervisors.
Oh, okay.
We've had a lot of people kind of promote into supervisory positions that just haven't had any type of supervisory training.
So then my second question, is there anything from finance next week, Mr. President?
I don't know, we'll have to ask the acting finance director, what do you have?
Yeah. No, I don't have anything, but just for the August meeting, we'll have to go over the budget schedule and 2022 debt schedule.
So then I would recommend, Roxanne, we have safety and human resources at 7. And that's all, sir.
All right, thank you. Jason?
There is vast room for approval in the applications for the open finance director position. How vast, you ask? Well, when we get the next one, it'll be the first one, that vast.
Right.
So, we're currently holding at the number of 0 applicants for the finance director job. I'm sure a lot of people will give them in, towards the end of the month, but, just know we are looking, and right now we have none, currently on there.
What is the deadline?
Close the business
date?
on July the 30th.
On the 30th.
10,
Right.
11 days.
Yeah, so we got time. Drove by the city pool and they're putting in the next piece, right? Is it the cover over the kiddie area? Is that what they're doing?
They're attempting to do that.
Yeah.
We had planned to get the 2 shade structures in today. The shade structure over the shallow end, we were waiting because there were some parts that needed to be fabricated. While we were having it erected this afternoon, they discovered those fabricated parts were not fabricated correctly. So they're going to have to refabricate the connectors between the vertical posts and the struts that hold the shade structure in place. About 6:30 this afternoon, I was informed that the shade structure that goes over the concession area, the bolt pattern that was placed in the concrete foundations, the foundations were poured April 14th, and then on the 21st, the company that manufactured the posts changed their bolt pattern so they don't match, but the foundations were already in the ground, so when they went to put the posts on about 6 o'clock, they didn't fit. So they did not get put up today. We are having those issues corrected, no cost to the city, but they are delayed once again.
Okay.
And that might be the first Tony Cotter ever hears of it. I was not able to get a hold of him.
Okay. Okay. Those are the things that I had, thank you.
Thank you. Lori?
Nothing for me, thanks.
Okay. Jeff?
The area on Sheffield that was redone, Chad?
Yes. As part of Park Street where we did
Yes, the
sanitary sewer?
1 to 200 block,
Okay.
stuff sinking?
Yeah, we've been in contact with the contractor. Yes, we got a lot of rain, but they didn't do a very good job of compaction.
Sure.
We're making them come back.
Okay, because the neighbors are complaining.
They should be.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Molly?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Joel?
The HHS reporting was completed for the first $15,000. CARES Act money, I was gonna hold off on the electric rate study. I know I have that contract sitting on my desk, but I think with this, I think it's critical to have the new finance director involved in that. It's too important of a piece to, go through this process without somebody, at least, even if they're not gonna completely learn it and be an expert on it right away, at least they're gonna go through, they'll learn something out of this, so. And then, we filed a DTE 24 form for the TIF district. We will have some budget adjustments. One of them I wanted to bring up today is the pool staff. Staff, because we've had so many good weather days, pool hasn't been shut down a lot. So we have, in the budget time, we're like, okay, how much are we gonna put in here for staff? We did our best estimate and we shorted it. So, good weather days, staff's been working a lot more. It's, longer hours and everything else, so it's.
How's the revenue compared to what we had expected for?
Oh, revenue's good. Revenue's really good. So, concession revenues, I mean, it's all memberships, day passes, everything's through the roof, so.
Were there any adjustments made to the number of staff needed, like for any given period of time?
The lifeguards are fixed, because
Mhm.
if you're gonna keep the whole pool open,
Mhm.
there has to be coverage, and that's per the health department, and where they all have to be seated and.
I just wondered if there needed to be possibly more.
Oh. Ugh.
Just the way that,
Um,
that one area is with all the little ones running around, it seems like it's hectic.
They do kinda have a roamer around the little kid area, and then they have everybody in the seats. It's adequate.
Mhm.
They've been doing really well,
Mhm.
actually, for a young, kids out, adults.
Mhm.
They've been doing great, managing it and just working. I don't think so. I mean, I think it's working out. There was one time, the busiest day I saw, I counted 220 people, not including lifeguards and
Mhm.
any staff or anything like that. So it was packed. It's hot. It's packed.
Yep.
So, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess with the appointment of the interim finance director, I know we always put a lot of pressure on our law department, and Billy is great. And, just wondering if, Tammy, have you had time to prepare an ordinance that we could add to the agenda today?
I just have to
So it's not Billy that's all good precedence, huh? It's Tammy. Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir. So I'd like to add ordinance number 029-21 to the agenda. An ordinance appointing city manager Joel Mazer as acting finance director for the city of Napoleon, Ohio, beginning July 16th, 2021, and declaring an emergency. And we did put 16th since Kelly's last day was officially the 15th. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Did we talk about this as a resolution as opposed to an ordinance?
Yeah, I did, and then going back, the question was if we can, if this should be a resolution or if it should be an ordinance. I guess, Tammy, if you can help us with that a little bit.
It should actually be an ordinance because we are appointing an interim appointing authority, and that'll be codified. So we don't codify resolutions and ordinances, that's what we do.
Good question.
Just want to take a minute to have everyone review before we do vote on it.
Nice. Was good.
I do want to point out one thing that I felt was very important on when I thought it was a good idea to appoint Joel, is having Joel report to council every council meeting regarding anything that he's signing, any decisions that had to be made as an acting finance director. And the contract we have with Schoenhart, bringing that to us every meeting as well, so we can stay on top of the money that's being spent during this time. So if we want to get this going right away, we need a motion to
Add legislation to the
suspend.
agenda.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Hey, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
And then we would need a motion for suspension.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll on suspension.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Need a motion on the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we need a motion on the ordinance. We just added it to it. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, hearing none. Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay, that has been passed on first read under suspension.
Council President, if I may.
Yes.
I'm honored that you would trust me with this job duty, but I want to make sure I stress how temporary this is going to be. So, I know the Personnel Committee is going through a selection process, and, you know, hopefully someone can be hired with some expediency. It's not something I want to do, but it's definitely something that I'm honored that you would have that trust in me to be able to take this on.
Thank you. The trust is there because of your years here. I don't know anybody that I've ever heard that can say a bad thing about what you've done and your, you know, how much you care for the city, and it's all you that gave us the reason to trust you. And I would just like you to at least express to us if you're having issues where it's too much for you, hey, we can always take this away.
You'll know right away.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, trust me.
And I'll be reaching out to both of the Amandas that I know and tell them to tell me the same thing. All right, moving on. Item L, approve payment of bills and financial reports. In the absence of any objections or corrections, the payment of bills and financial reports shall stand approved. Okay, and item M, adjournment.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, Rox, please call the roll.
Molly,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate you coming
Something
today.
told me